All right, we're live.
Greetings and hallucinations to everybody out there.
Yeah, we had Unfinished Project and J-Bo were here crazy early. My Aunt Nancy was here. Colleen.
Boom. There you go.
Are we live?
Oh, we got some feedback. We are live.
Live at 5.
Leighton Welding, Mom's in the House, Pure Pontiac Garage, JB, NSB Custom Cars. If you've not yet seen the 2024 No Name Nationals video that Cope Racing Transmissions put out, it's a good little reel. It includes NSB and Joe and Bad Tree. Check that out when you get a chance. It's on my community tab. Dakota's timeout. T, hopefully we'll be able to jump in the chat here, or jump on panel rather here a little bit later. Den at Dreams Garage. Turbo Tom. The very last No Name 500 channel to make it in 2023. Literally made it as we were lining up for the group photo. Old McDonald, Sean O'Brien, SSR Performance Big James. Smoke Wrench Garage. We've got B&R, Danny Boyd. Andrew Nelson says, good evening from Team Nivlac 57. Big Mike of the Hoopty Barn. Glad all you guys could make it. So as we've been doing for several weeks now, we've been trying to get a panel together of each class, the No Name Nationals. And we only run a handful of classes for a reason. So rather than have, A stock, B stock, G stock, whatever, we have the bracket, the burnout, the heads up, monkey bike, and we're going to add a second bracket for Saturday. Talk more about that next week. But our bracket's just a no box, all run, and I figured a good panel of bracket racers could tell you more about what they do and why they do it. These guys are all good seasoned bracket racers, and they can tell you far better than I can what bracket racing's all about. So say hi to Roy Boy and Blue Grit Garage. Thank you guys for joining. But you guys should recognize our panel here. We've got Bad Tree Blake from Bad Tree Productions, Just Mopar Show, and Barkley of the Schmidt Show Garage, who is the newest person to make No Name 500, the newest alumnus of the No Name 500. Just made it a couple days ago, and he is joining us here on the panel to talk about bracket. So with that, guys, thanks for being on.
You're welcome.
Yeah, for sure. I wanted to start with Barclay told me 2 years ago he was going to start a YouTube channel so he can come out and mop me at No Name Nationals one year. So he's here.
He was talking about that all last year too, I think.
Yeah, you guys made me jealous. You guys got to have all the fun, and I had to run around and work. So it was, like I said, when all this started with Dallas in the whole first place, I'm sure he'll tell you the story. I thought the whole idea was just. I wasn't hip on it, and he poked at me for a while on it, and he came up with it, and then come the first years, you guys showed up, man. I had a blast with you guys, and it was on from then, and I really wish I could have been in there last year, even with just my daughter's car, but I just drugged my feet the whole time, and drugged my feet, and never got around to doing it. Almost drugged my feet too long this year. finally got around to doing it.
Yep, feels good, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Barkley, you took a framed picture, I remember, like off your wall, and ran it over to Joe's pit.
Oh, yeah, probably did.
Yeah. You had a picture. It was a big framed picture of the Oldsmobile, and you're just walking through the pit doing this, and Joe, I'm like, oh, my God.
Well, I didn't have a car there, man. I wanted to have something there to show some people.
That's right.
So I'm definitely excited about coming back. We'll be bringing both our cars. Unfortunately, Lindsay's not going to be able to race with us. I wish she was. She made some last minute plans to go somewhere, and I've really harped her pretty hard about it last night.
Angie, you coming back?
Lead Avenue.
Coming back?
Hi. Oh yeah, I'll be there definitely. I'm excited.
I know you don't want to miss the burnout competition.
No, definitely not. But we are not participating in that, Mr. Wilburn.
Yeah, my stuff's not going down the end of the tracks. We've already discussed that. little Ricky's going to find us something to do in that skeleton racing. But my stuff is definitely not going. It's staying at the front side of the racetrack for that.
We have grandbabies now.
Understood.
Grandkids love burnouts.
Oh, yeah.
What the big deal is.
That's true.
Yeah, your guys' burnouts and my burnouts are a little bit different.
That's great.
Blake,
I love it.
When I think of burnouts, I do think of Blake. I ain't gonna lie. He's got a lot of good burnout experience under his belt. And last year, problems with the Death Pumpkin, the 68 Dart. I don't think you got to showcase to a lot of people. You're a lot better bracket racer than I think a lot of people who look at the overall picture of YouTube realize, because YouTube is such a sampler platter of everything, right? I mean, it shows us doing events and working on stuff and all this stuff, but all of us did stuff before YouTube that we might not get enough credit for. And I think you're one of those people. I think Blake ought to tell people about some of your bracket experience and some of that stuff before YouTube they might not know.
Not much. I mean, just kind of got it kind of given to me with Jabo. Just planning it as a birthday present to take me out and get my driver's license and take me to the drag strip. So, I didn't know anything about drag racing, and I went. And I didn't know a damn thing about bracket racing. And I still went. And I was nervous as hell. All get out, man. And I still get nervous every time I roll into a track. You get the butterflies in the stomach, and once you get that first test and tune pass out of your system, then you're back to level. But
look at that.
Yeah, see, you don't have to know what the hell you're doing. You can just go and do it. And in my instance, I just got really lucky, and I won my first time out, and I didn't win the rest of the year. I never finished worse than third, and then I got the bug, after that first win. You just want it more and more and more. So,
oh yeah,
it's fun. It can get in your head, especially if you're doing a point season. But recently I just been going whenever I feel like going, which hasn't been very often, and I'm way more relaxed. That's what I got.
I agree. I agree with you on that. I'm being relaxed with the points. I ran the points this year for the first time in at least 10 years. And I had the foot brake in my daughter's Mustang at Super Pro all year long. And at first, right off the bat, man, I did really good. And I was hanging in there. And then I let it get in my head. And then I started falling off. And then when I finally gave up the last two races, I started doing good again. So, I hear you on the points deal, making it tough sometimes.
So, how many of you guys are second generation racers?
Yes.
I know Joe. Any of the rest of you? Or
I actually taught Jabo how to race. He taught me how to, me believing that he knew what the hell he was talking about, just like the rest of you people on YouTube in a video. Oh, he knows what he's talking about. He doesn't. He's never done it before. So I actually taught him what to do because he didn't know what to do. He could teach you, but he didn't know how to do. So once he got in the burnout box, everything went out of his head.
Yeah, it can be nerve-wracking, that's for sure. It can be nerve-wracking.
I was laughing that T has his trophy beside him. I see that. It's shining over there.
I think you guys are going to like the bracket trophy this year. I'll be showing that off next week.
I could show mine from the first year if you want me to.
We gotta get creative. On the back window of your car, you gotta rub it in. It's next to your second King sticker.
I got T a sticker made up like that too, but his is like literally like a full notebook sheet paper size that says bracket winner 23.
I'm surprised it doesn't say temporarily. I mean, I know you want to come back after it.
I could take one of Jabo's many car show trophies from the Nacho Cuda and put masking tape over it and say first place, first ever, and hand it to you.
There you go.
There you go. T, so how much of what you do is bracket racing versus any other kind of races? I know you race a lot. T, can you hear us? Good times, T.
Still
We can't hear you, T.
T, can you hear us?
when I built this with a train.
I can't read lips though.
Yeah.
We can't hear you, T.
Yeah, we don't have your mic.
Now you're muted.
No.
Oh yeah, cut your mute. Fix your mute there. Yeah.
I can read lips a little bit. He said, "This year, I can't believe I'm wasting all this time to get smoked by Joe or Blake."
Ooh,
Love it.
He's saying it again. I see it. He's absolutely agreeing now. Yep.
Yep. He said,
See,
"Yeah, I can't
you're
believe I'm
still
doing it
muted.
myself."
You must have a mic plugged in or headphones or something. Ross, do you have sound?
Yeah, can you hear me?
There we go. We got
There he
Ross.
is.
T, work on your sound a little bit if you could there, man. And we'll come right back to you. But Ross, do you do any other kind of racing? Because we see a lot of video that you put up from Skelton, and we see you do brackets. But what kind of racing do you like to do? Do you do anything else or?
No, that's pretty much it. Yeah, that's all I've ever done, really, is bracket. I don't think my car is really good for much else.
Bracket racing is a niche, though, and it's its own thing. I mean, there's a real science to it. Like Barkley was talking about learning to stage the car and staging to within a quarter of an inch every time. Which,
Yeah,
if not closer. Ross has been through some of that with me. Ross was one that he was a little sporadic at first. Sometimes he'd be real eager and roll in, and he'd be super deep, and sometimes he'd be real shallow, or sometimes he'd roll up and turn them both on. You know, it was never the same routine every time. And Ross is a great racer. He's got a great car, and we got together one afternoon, and I'm telling you, it only takes when you can see how much room there is there to work with, and understand how many differences that much room can help you out, or to your advantage or disadvantage. I mean, and you can actually see it written down, like, you know. And what I usually do is I put like a laser pointer up on the. Sorry if I'm not looking at you guys. A laser pointer up on the side of the track, and I put some masking tape on the side. What I did on Ross, put some masking tape on the side of his car. I told him just to stage his car, and I made a mark on it. And I had him do that like 5 times in a row. Not take off, just stage back up, stage back up, stage back up. And we do that, and then we get out and talk about it. And I'm pretty sure he'll tell you he had a pretty good increments there before he realized it, got it nailed down. I think he was probably, 1.5 2 inches, which makes a huge difference in your ET and your reaction time.
oh yeah.
We got
Yeah. Now, Barkley, since you've actually measured this, I know it's going to be different depending on the height of the tire. But how far can most cars roll out and still keep from maximum deep to maximum shallow and keep both bulbs on?
Man, I know I've measured in a junior. You can go from the time you turn your very first pre-stage on to the time you can knock the top one out, man. You can get a good 14 inches probably total, depending on what it is. But there's a good, I mean, you figure from the time you pre-stage to the time you stage, that's close to 6 inches, and you can still roll pretty far forward before you knock that top bulb out.
That's a little more than I thought it would be.
That's a little advanced compared to us trying to explain, leave on the last yellow. Don't leave on green.
Yeah, definitely don't leave on green.
I think a lot of people think bracket racing is an oddity because there's more fair weather, or not fair weather. I just call them fair weather.
Look.
Fans that see more instant green, more arm drop on TV.
Right.
So they think that's what's most popular, but bracket racing is huge.
Yeah.
And if you can see, a ton of people do it.
Yeah.
The casual fan, not the fair weather. That's what I was looking for.
What is your favorite thing about bracket racing? Because all of you have done it enough times that you must have liked it because you keep coming back. What's your favorite thing about bracket racing?
You can stay in your lane and not have to spend a bunch of money.
That's something pretty good.
Pretty good. Yeah.
That's fair enough.
You can definitely go. You can definitely go fast on a budget and still have some serious tight side by side finish line racing, which is, I mean, it's pretty cool when you race a really fast roadster or something, and you know they're not going to be there to the last 20 feet of racetrack. That's kind of cool, and it's fun chasing cars down too. It is fun chasing them.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good question though.
I'm going to say.
Well, I was going to say, Joe, you
Go ahead,
go
Joe.
with that. Which do you like better, being chased or chasing somebody down?
I'll start. My very most favorite thing is to beat a sorry sandbagging POS with a consistent car and a good reaction. And you know they were going out like, oh, am I going to win this one? And it's like, darn, man, you missed that.
Mm-hmm.
The car wins more races than I do.
Another thing is anytime a Chevy goes down against a Mopar, it's pretty good.
An angel gets its wings. Yeah.
So, Barkley, you're the odd man out on the panel that's running GM. Everybody else on the panel is running Mopar.
I got an Oldsmobile. I got the old Oldsmobile with a Chevy power in it. I got wise. The old power wasn't working.
Right.
Now, did you have an Oldsmobile program in that car? What kind of Oldsmobile engine did you run?
Originally, it had a 350 rocket in it, which I worked on for years and threw thousands of dollars. I never could get it under the 12-20 range in the quarter mile. So I finally chalked that up after years of listening to Rich Thomas tell me no replacement for displacement. You need to get a big block Chevy in there. I finally bucked up and bought one in, I guess, 2003.
How many cubes is it?
It's 496.
There you go.
Good size mill. Good size mill. And what do you think about the consistency of all of your cars? So I know Blake's had his car a short amount of time. Joe's had his car considerably longer. Who here's had their car the longest amount of time? Like, I mean, Joe's, you've had your car, what, about like maybe 3 years now, 4? Something close.
I'm going to say Ross is the winner.
Ross probably had it a long time. Barkley?
My Cutlass is the same car I drove to prom, the same car I drove to high school, same car I drove to homecoming, you name it, football games. So I bought it in March 19th of 1994, 93. March 19th of 93, and I've been racing it since 96.
Wow.
Cool.
Goodness.
And I backcrafted, did all the main work to it, and put ladder bars on it in like 2000, and then we did the full back half in like 2003, 2004.
I just heard you really know that car. That's what I heard.
I've had a little, but I've been on a break. I've been racing junior dragsters with my kids for the last. Let's see, Lindsay's 21. I mean, I finished the whole deal with her. Started at 6 years old and went till she was 21. So, I mean, I've been racing juniors for at least 20 years. I'm sorry, not that long. 15 years. I've been tied up with the junior dragster scene since 2010.
We got a question we'll grab over here in a minute. But T, how long have you had your car?
I had my car about 6 years. I think it was 2018 when I bought that one.
All right. And Ross, how long have you had the Challenger?
About the same. Same as Pete.
I'll be making my first test and tune passes in 13 days.
Nice. Hey, I'm going to make some test and tune tomorrow for the first time, so don't feel bad.
I did.
Don't you guys have rural streets out there?
Oh yeah, we got them. But ever since the first year when we never bracket raced the Nacho Cuda and we went there with it untested and it did really well, I just thought that was really neat because it surprised me. I didn't know what the car was going to run, and it was pretty dead Stone Axe consistent too. It's a shame to leave that car back in Iowa.
People will miss the Nacho. That it's got quite a following.
Mm-hmm.
Who wants Junkyard D's question here? And of course, any of you can jump in on it. For those new or fresh to bracket racing, can someone give a bird's eye view of how bracket racing works? Good question for the chat. How would one of you describe bracket racing to someone who has no idea how bracket racing works? What is it?
I'll say I've got a 25-minute video on exactly how it works using little tiny cars and showing every instant of tenth of a second of time versus car length versus all that. But yeah, somebody else go, and he can check that out later maybe.
Yeah, if one of the mods wants to put up the link to that video, that would be great. But how would somebody else describe it? What would be your best pitch for bracket racing?
Got a good light, get to the stripe. I mean, that's simple, but that's probably more for somebody who's already in the know, I guess, you know. But yeah, it's a way to make unequal cars equal and make it somewhat of a driver's race, right? I mean, so you get to make time runs, you get to decide how fast your car is, then you put that number on the window that you can trust, and you just be good at the tree and try not to go too fast.
Takes a lot of the wallet out of it. I remember the Ford weekend a lot of years ago. Everybody was pulling for this little Ford Festiva that was in the bracket. And that car was running, I want to say 18-second quarter miles, if memory serves. And he took out a lot of really fast cars that were running in the eights in the quarter. And he would get down there to where it looked like you're expecting his lights to come on any time before the other car would leave.
Says the right on board.
People were red lighting against him and everything else. He was hard to run against with that much disparity in ET. He did a lot of rounds. It was a little Ford Festiva.
Yeah.
I'd say if your first time going to look into doing it during your 3 test and tune runs, try to emulate that first burnout in every one of your burnouts. You want bracket racing is about consistency, and if you can stay consistent across the board, you're going to have a better day. So that means check your tire pressure every pass, make sure it has the same amount of tire pressure it had in the last pass. Unless you spun off the line, then maybe take a pound or 2 out of the rear, or adding air pressure can help grip too. And just practice at that light. Download the JEGS app and work on that last amber yellow coming on and dropping the hammer, and work on trying to get a really, really good consistent tree. Then once you start getting into it, then you can start doing fat end, playing with the gas and brake and stuff if you're too far out, or if you're running under your dial, or that, you know, you can play with your dial. So if I run a 1099, I'm going to put a 1095 on the windshield and give myself a little wiggle room, versus other people probably want to run right on that number and they'd write 1099. I don't know. That's just how I do it. And then I don't have any nitrous on board to make up for any mistakes in the first 60 foot of the track. Some people run nitrous exclusively just in case of mess ups. I don't know. That's what I got.
So just an overview concept, though, because I get this question because a lot of our folks have never been on the drag strip before, especially for the first No Name Nationals. And that is, you're trying to estimate the amount of ET your car is going to run in the 660. And you want to be closer to your time than your competitor. And so by a combination of how good a light you cut,
It's not what I do every time, Andrew.
And how close you can get to the stripe without going quicker, that's how you win. 0.04 under is too much.
I'm just using it as a talking point. That's not necessarily what I'm doing, Andrew. I got a shelf full of trophies over there if you want to look at them.
you wouldn't talk about them earlier, man. Now you got to slide them out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Blake's slow rolling it. What say you, Ross? We can hear you now.
As far as tell people, I mean, if somebody asks me asked me about it and how it works, the bracket racing, I've never been able to. They just don't understand because they can't understand how a car is slower wins. I just can't get that across to anybody how any of that works. So I give up on it. I don't ever try and explain it anymore.
It's like JB's shop. We try to beat it into his head nightly, almost 365 days out of the year. It doesn't make sense.
Blake was right. burnout thing. I mean, you just got to try and do everything the exact same from the burnout up to when I'm staged. I try to do every single thing the same every time, but it hasn't helped me much this year, really. But that's what I try and do anyway. Every little nuance. I mean, I look down to make sure I'm in gear, which I don't have to, but it's just one of those little things I do. And so it's like habit. I do it every time.
DNR asks,
Ross has definitely changed his racing game the last year or so. I think we made mention of that at our banquet, our little deal last year. But he's definitely come a long way. So be looking out for RT211. He's not no duck no more.
Yeah, but this year's been terrible. This has been just absolutely horrible this year. Everything. I don't know.
Well, you've had the car problems.
it turns around at Sykeston. It turns around. It turns around on the 20th. That's when it changes. Hey, so B&R's asking a good question. Is anybody or any of you guys running a power adder? I think a few people will be. I don't know if anybody on the panel will be.
I do not.
Well,
I've got a plate kit, but I don't normally bracket race with it ever. That's, to me, that's, you're asking for inconsistency.
Right.
The same thing like with a turbo guy wanting to bracket race. I'm like, good luck, man. If you can do it, good for you.
Good luck with that.
Yeah.
And
Sand's
Joe,
in
Russ
the bag.
Bucket Resco's asking if you've got the Prius. If you're bringing the Prius.
Yeah.
Right there. See it?
Yeah. If y'all see
Just
me in a
not
Prius,
red
I'm being kidnapped.
Slower car.
Did Mopar make that?
Yeah.
Auto Salvage Outlaws asking who all is on the panel. I will say all of their channels are linked below. So, of course, you guys should recognize Bad Tree Blake, Just Mopar Joe, our inaugural bracket champion, last year's bracket champion, T's Good Time Garage. We've got Barkley working event staff last year. He's participating this year. And we've got Ross, RT211 Racing, down there in the lower right square of our Brady Bunch mosaic up here. But that's our panel. Their channels are all linked below. Check out what they're doing.
I seen a question if it's easier to red light against a slower car. I think I have a worse reaction time sometimes against a slower car because I sit there thinking about not red lighting.
You kind of want to.
That brings an interesting one. Big Block 402 is my brother's turbo car is a bracket car, but he can launch it with it floored.
There's a little curve there, my bad.
J-Bo's
He
right.
red lit against me
Blog
at
post.
Newport in that car. I remember.
Andrew Nelson says, I hate power adders on a bracket car. You find more ways to lose. What have you guys like? I'm sure you've all tried some different stuff. What has been what you think is the hardest combination to bracket race? Is there anything you ever switched to just to try it and say, man, this is awful, and went back?
I don't like modern cars. Electronics kick in for no reason will cost you a race. Like my SRT8 deciding to go into slapstick mode on its own at the staging line, and then I get down to the 60 foot and I'm bouncing off the rev limiter. I'm like, what the hell's going on? That transmission of that car, if you try to manually shift it, it takes like 2 seconds for it to, after the input of you hitting the slapstick, it's a slush box. So I'd always just leave it in drive.
Yeah.
When I go take the wife's car bracket racing. And I didn't like it. It doesn't have the soul like the old stuff.
Pretty much.
T, you've tried some different stuff. What have you tried that was just you thought maybe I'm going to give it a whirl, see what happens, and it turned out to be the Price is Right fail horn, and you switched back? What would that be for you?
Well, I mean, I would kind of agree with trying, for me, bracket racing, anything that wasn't kind of a dedicated race car was a pain, right? Because one, there's all sorts of other things like, I can't shift it manually because it runs inconsistent or it does something like that. It spins. You just never know. You can't predict it as much. And so I finally said, screw this, I'm getting serious. And I haven't been down the drag strip in anything but a bracket car ever since.
Yeah. I think for me, it was like when I tried to bracket race my black truck, I could never get the right traction. My converter was never right. It was probably led to me selling, my high school truck. Is like, I can't race it. Like, high school's over. So, I mean, I can't, can't compete in it. And if you get used to ever winning, then when you don't win, it feels really bad.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I'll ever win again, but it's like, golly, it's killing me
how
now.
to lose with grace, Joe. We know.
Thank you. I'm really good at it.
Good at it too.
What do you think, Barkley? You see a lot of this.
Say that again.
So, Barkley, you see not only that, but at that track all the time, you're seeing a lot of people try different combinations. Yours or anybody's? What do you think was the
I'll tell you what.
move and they switched back?
I hate dragsters. I can't stand the dragsters. I think they're just stupid. I like stuff with doors on it. But I tell you what, one thing I don't like either, I don't like electric stuff. And there's a Tesla racing down there at Skelton, man, and if he could get around to learn how to drive the starting line, that thing runs the number almost every single pass. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's like it's on a rail. So I'm not too hip on the electric trying to join the game, but we don't have no really rules against them down there anymore. And all that. Sykeston's probably one of the most outlawish tracks you ever go to, maybe other than when you guys are there, but it is there's some interesting stuff that runs down there. But I don't like you guys said, I don't like new stuff with I'm old school. I don't like having to get out of a computer, laptop, mess with any of that. I just like to go to the racetrack with a good old carburetor, put some fuel in it, set the tires, roll with it, nice and simple. I don't like the fly-by-wires, how that stuff is just so doggy sometimes on the start. You can almost put your foot to the floor and leave on the second yellow. I'm not too hip on that either.
Right.
Andrew says door cars to the front dragster taste like chicken.
Yeah, I hear you.
You got to read those good ones. I'm really surprised how many people will listen to these Friday Night Lives like podcasts during the week.
Yeah,
so
I am.
Get as many views after the fact as they do when they're live. So I try to read those so people don't miss out on them. I thought that was a pretty good comment. I purposefully saved Ross for last because I know that you keep a meticulous logbook.
Mm-hmm.
So to the 100th when things work and when they don't. What would you say, in even in the last few years, or in the whole time you've had this car, what is the one thing that you said, this is something that I wanted to switch back, or what would be something that didn't work?
Oh, pretty much this year with the whole converter situation, because I still don't think even though this converter, that's the old one that was rebuilt, I mean, it flashes right, but it doesn't mile an hour ET like it used to. So, and I don't know. That was the biggest thing to me. Of course, I guess I can't change it and say I wish I hadn't because it was messing up. That's why it was taken out in the first place. But
or are you still stabbing the gas at the line, or are you preloading now? That's a different converter.
With this one's I found like about 1,800 seems about right. It used to be about 1,500 just off idle, and that was the best 60 foot, the best everything. If I stall it up, the more I stall that car up, the slower it goes. So that's why I never did that. Everybody used to always tell me, stall it up, stall it up. Well, the more I stall it up, the slower the car would be. Slower than 60, worse 60, it was just terrible. And then everybody's telling me get an 8-inch converter, get an 8-inch converter. Well, I put that in it, and it was slower than it ever has been. So
rebuild's a snowflake, man. They're all different. Just because somebody says this worked in their car doesn't mean it's going to work for you. So
right.
Yeah, bring that 8-inch converter. I'll buy it from you for cheap. Okay? I'll try it in mine. Don't worry.
How much do any of you guys change for weather? Because I once read, and I don't know. I'm not the pro. You guys are. David Rear once said that whatever the weather station shows, do half of it. And I don't know. So how much do you guys change for weather? Or what are your thoughts on that? Whether it be cold or humidity or what?
As long as it ain't raining, you just race the day that presents itself. And that's what your 3 testing tunes are for.
What's a weather station?
Yeah, what's weather station? Look at the sky.
You can go back in time and look at your logbook.
That's clear. Oh, that's rain. Yeah, we should stop.
There you go. There it is.
So what do you think
Read
when
my
you see
mind.
it? Let's say it gets cooler in the evening. Really, do you have kind of rules of thumb, or how do you try to judge that?
I mean, me personally, I'm not changing a whole lot from morning to afternoon or anything like that. I'm usually trying to hope that I'm close so that I don't, so that it's not too far of a spread. Maybe that's not scientific enough, but yeah, I mean, last year in Sykeston, what I had in it stayed in it. I don't think I rejetted it. I don't remember changing, timing or anything. I set it where I liked it. I put the jetting, once I made some runs and liked where it was, that's what it stayed. And so I guess I guessed right because it did pretty well. But I try not to make a whole lot of changes, during one day for sure.
That actually brings up a question too, because it's pretty high altitude where you live, isn't it?
I'm over 4,000 feet, and that's
Right.
typically, I mean, the last few things. I mean, the track I was at a couple weeks ago was over 4,000. Other than Sykeston, the lowest I usually go is Vegas and Boise in Idaho, and they're 22, 2,000, somewhere around there. So
Vegas
it's a
is
big
the same.
difference.
What's
I'm
the
definitely
altitude of
changing.
Sykeston?
I'm definitely changing for that.
Yeah,
But
Barkley, what is the altitude of Sykeston?
It's like
It's like
300.
300 feet, a little over 300 feet.
yeah,
So how much change will you make to you between 4,000 and 300 feet? Do you have like a standard estimation that you have going in there, knowing that?
Give her some extra fuel for sure.
general, yeah, my rule of thumb, I'm usually around one jet size per 1,000 feet, and then we'll use that as a baseline and start testing from there. But yeah, that's rough estimate.
Okay.
Are you guys running gas or alcohol?
Gas.
Gas, yeah.
Great
See,
gas,
I'm on alcohol, so I usually don't change a whole lot. I mean, with methanol, you can be so fat on your tune-up to where it's running out the tailpipes, and it really doesn't really matter much.
I don't run on alcohol until after the racing's done.
I hear you there.
Right. So I wanted to show this. I got a new like tuning instrument in from Shane Polito. He sent me as a gift. So this is, if I can find it, it Bluetooths my AFR to my phone now. So that's just a demo mode, whatever. But you could hook up two sensors, and it shows your RPM and your AFR at the same time. So you could scroll back and look and say, man, at 4,000 it was just super lean for some reason. So it's a game changer because and you can screen record. Like I got a video coming out on that, but I'm ready to try it tomorrow night with actually like try my nitrous and try everything with it and play around.
Now, I know this is about bracket racing, but when you guys are not bracket racing, what other kind of races? I asked this same question to 28-10-5 guys, and just for any kind of race, we had answers like road course, land speed, and everything else. What other kind of racing do you guys like to do if you're not doing that?
We do a lot of index racing down at Skelton too. I've been running the 7.0 index class on the Mustang, just slowing it down, putting some weight on it, trying to slow it down, and we run that. And then we have a couple other bracket races down there. One I like to put on called the Ghost Race, which is basically we'll start doing that next month. Basically, you get wind lights only, so you get 2 time trials, and then it's just wind lights. No time slips. No scoreboards, no nothing. Your dialing goes in. That's all you get. You got to deal with it, and you don't know what you ran the last round, how you won, if you broke out, other than if the guy red light against you. And then we do a lot of pro tree bracket racing too down there at Skelton, where it's a staggered pro tree, that's kind of cool too. I kind of like that. Or instant green, we'll do instant green staggered tree.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
What about you, Ross?
Yeah, I like the index.
That's all I do. Any of the other ones.
We could actually have a pretty good 7.0 index at No Name Nationals. We got a lot of cars running right around there.
I know the guy that owns the place. I'm pretty sure we could make that happen.
All right, Joe, you can't bracket race. What kind of racing do you want to do?
So I almost got to go race in Texas with Ryan Wing and Duddy, and it was they called it like Real Street or something, but you had to have a 28-inch drag radial. You had to have an interior. You had to have a passenger seat. You had, they put 4,000 rules to whatever meets their car. They make a class for it. So what I did was try to make my car meet that class, and they're like, well, your car's backhand, but we just won't look for that race, so it'll be good. You can run it. And it got rained out, but they were going to set a cap on the race of like 660, 680 or 70 or something. And, I guess they pull a chip or do whatever, but I was looking forward to that because then it's a heads up deal as long as you don't outrun that. And I knew mine at the time was like, I could probably run 680 then if I was spraying a little bit, but that was my other motor. So it's fun to find a heads up deal like that. I know T was doing some, crazy street or what do you call it, T? Like
yeah, I've been doing a little no prep. Yeah,
no
little
prep.
pro tree, no prep stuff, and index, and that's fun. And I've had to settle for index because my car is not really fast enough to compete with most of those cars. But so index is fun. No prep in general is a riot, and the extracurricular of a no prep is some great people watching. It's always fun.
I feel like I ran no prep last year around this time of year somewhere, but
yeah, that wasn't me in charge of that last year. The year before was probably really good, and this year will be fantastic. This year will be fantastic. I can tell you that, man. We're not using what the previous owner had us using, so it should be nice. And by the way, speaking of which, I did get my cylinder heads back and my car is put back together. I made sure I sent Dallas a picture of that last night about 1:30 when I got done working on it. So I just got to throw some headers on it tonight and the filter on. I'll be ready to go racing tomorrow.
Very nice. Now, we talked about no prep, touched on that. T, you're doing no prep, but you have big tires on the back of that Dart.
Oh man, they're like
I do, and right. So I mean, that's where I'm kind of limited, right? Because there's a lot of tire under that car, but it's not a high horsepower car, and you guys all saw how it looked with a 2810.5 on it. It's ridiculous, right? So, index is kind of what I can do right now, unless I put a bottle on it. So, that'd be fun. I mean, if anybody's got a plate system they're not using, certainly let me know, and we might play around with that. But yeah, I mean, my car's limited for that. It's really best suited to be a bracket car because it kind of doesn't fit any one mold. It can't compete with a big tire car. It can't run like a small tire car. So yeah, it's fun.
So and do you want me to bring the 125 horse plate and bottle and all the lines and everything to Sykeston with me?
Bring
I'll
it.
stay up late and put it on Friday night. Let's do it.
There you go. It's got 3/4 of a bottle. Me and Jeremy were laughing pretty hard.
And you guys have any big changes you're going to be making to your cars between now and then? Because as you can see, you only got 12 days and 3 hours and 13 minutes. Not a lot of time.
No.
Any big changes to make?
Put it on the trailer.
Yeah, that's about it, right?
I'm swapping my 512 out for a 540 this year, so that's as big as I could afford. And
knowing Joe, I wouldn't laugh. You never know.
Well, if you want to rent me the 512, that'd be cool.
Yeah, I'll bring it. Put it back in a truck. I'm gonna just stack plates on top of it too. So turn one this way.
How many kids?
All of them.
and we'll start with just start with T. We'll start with T. What is your aspirations for what you want to do with your cars? Like, do you want to make them quicker? Does any of you guys say have any aspirations to add more power and get it a little quicker or anything like that?
I do, right? I mean, everywhere I go, my car is a 1090, 1110, 11 car, 20s to 90s, and I've done that for a while. I wanna up it a little bit. I want to do the chasing. I want to do it instead of being chased most of the time. I want to speed it up and do a little chasing.
Right on. What about you, Blake? You just got your car. So what are the first impressions? Where do you think you want to take it?
It's not a good daily driver. That's for sure. I want to keep it within what cage it has. So probably get right on the edge of having to add more bars. I like the idea that it's kind of old school build from the late 70s, early 80s. Kind of keep it that way.
Okay.
You know, not just don't mess with it, man. And it should be good. That's been my whole theory.
You can get about a second and a half quicker before you got to really go to more cage. Pretty close.
What is it? 1049 in the car is best is 1110 in the quarter.
It has a cage now, doesn't it, or is it a bar?
It's a bar with a door bar. If that,
I mean, that'll go 10 flat, right? I think roughly.
1049. I thought before you have to put like a 4-point or 6.
I'd have to look. I think everybody here is pretty good. It's the ones that are most concerning are people who need funny car cages that are running really quick. And, you know, it used to be such a big number, and there's so many guys eclipsing this now. It's just changed.
Wish I had that problem, needing a funny car cage.
Yeah, you go.
I am nowhere near that.
I need that funny car money. That's what I need.
Yeah.
Right. Right. What about you, Ross? Because you got an interesting place. You got a car that's it's so much quicker and better looking and better working than what people would think. When you say an iron head E-body small block with full interior, people don't expect it to. Because when I first saw that car, Joe sent me a picture. And he sent me a picture, and the left front was off about 4 inches off the track. He said, "Hey, what do you think he runs in this? You know, what do you think?" He described the combo. He said, "What do you think it runs?" And I think I told him, I said, "I don't know, 770." He said, "How about 7.0 or 6?" I'm like, man. So you got a good combo, but do you have any aspirations to make it quicker? Like, are you going to go to 6.0?
I mean, I really don't want to put a roll bar in the car. I don't want to mess it up. So I'd rather actually find some cheap, you know, lighter car, Duster, Dart, or whatever.
Beautiful A-bodies. Beautiful A-bodies.
What'd you say?
I said those beautiful A-bodies. That's what.
Yeah.
The best race cars. Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, the car last year, I mean, it did run 690s, but that was perfect air. It was below sea level and 50 degrees, and it ran great, but it's running 720s now. So it's not going to, everybody sees that it doesn't run sixes, you know. That was just a awesome air weekend or two weekends. But as far as aspirations of what to do with it, I would like to make it a little faster because, you know, people seem to like that, but then I'm in trouble going to certain tracks and stuff. I kind of already am in a way, but I don't know. There's a lot of things I'd like to do, but again, the whole money fairy, the tooth fairy hasn't come very much, and it's that's another, you know, heads. I mean, to get a good set of put aluminum heads on it. I know that would help too, but that's a lot of green there too, and I don't know how much it would help. I mean, the car runs pretty good for what it is now, so I guess I just need to leave it be and shut up.
I like what Andrew said about the funnest cars run 1050s. I think that'd be perfect for a bracket car because you know I'm a non-electronics guy. I'll never, you know, run a delay box. I don't even have a trans brake, so
right.
You know, a 1050 bracket car that's perfect.
Well, my car don't run 1050s. It's about, I think the fastest I ran
Mine either.
was 1131 or 2 up at Gateway this in May. 119. That's the quickest it's ran up there. I only run it in a quarter about once a year, and that was with a 719 eighth mile on that, I believe. So that's the fastest mine's ran.
Now, Blake and Barkley, I believe you are the only two running a trans brake. Is that right?
I run a trans brake in my Cutlass and just foot brake in the Mustang.
Okay. And then Blake, of course, he actually has trans brake number 414 of Cope. I remember that.
Yes. I don't know if I'll use it. We'll see.
I'll say, Can they use that trans brake, John? Let's be official
Yeah,
here.
trans brake. Can't use a delay box. Got to still drive the car.
I'm putting one in tomorrow. Never mind. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
do
do it right now.
God dang it.
Do it.
Way to go, John.
Do it.
Speeded up the class for us.
Hey, you know what? If you literally wanted to, I'm sure it could happen.
Foot braking's not so bad. Foot braking works.
We'll just leave it alone. Leave it as no box.
I got my trophy right here from the first year.
If I do any trans braking, it'll probably be like call out races. I'll just put brake in the bracket. Keep it consistent.
If Blake and
What I know.
Barkley, if you guys have an unlimited checkbook, and I ask this to 28-10-5 guys, and it's always interesting because they always have different answers. If you had unlimited money to just do whatever you wanted to do, any kind of race, what would you do?
You can take it, Barkley.
You got a dump truck load of money. What would you do?
You talking to me?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, I'd go big money bracket racing. I'd spend it like it was going out of style, just like I'm gonna do next week, man. All I asked my my car's been down since like April, and I was like, man, just whatever you do, please don't make me test a tune at the million. Please don't make me test a tune at the million. Here we are, Saturday night, putting my shit together. I get to go race at Skelton Saturday night, and then go get in line at the million on Sunday, and then race all week there. We'll be racing there the Tuesday 20 grander, the 50 grander on Wednesday, the 50 grander Thursday, millions on Friday, and then the 50 grander Sunday, and then turn around and get ready to come down there and hang out with you guys.
Wow.
So I would go big money bracket racing. I would hit every one of them. I'd buy my ass a nice brand new motorhome and go south and hit them all.
Fair enough. What do you think, Blake? What would you do? The dump truck load of money to do whatever you want with that program. What would
So
you
I
do?
could afford a Gear Vendors Overdrive. I think it'd be cool to build like a index drag and drive car.
Those are cool.
Something that would be that you could also bracket race with, you know, drive it to the track. Don't need a trailer. I think that would be like having an 850 street strip car. Wouldn't that be sick? That you had turn signals and plates and it was consistent. I think that'd be cool.
Very nice. What about you, Ross?
Truckload of money, huh?
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't. I don't really know what I'd do. I would make my car into a race car then, for sure. It would be roll board and all that, but I don't know. I'd just do the same thing. I mean, yeah, I'd run, of course, like more money classes and stuff, but I don't know. I really don't have any like, dream car thing. I mean, there's dream car, 71 Cuda or something like that would be awesome too. But I don't know. I think just what I'm, basically what I'm doing, just a little, higher level. That's about it.
Unlimited money, start my own NASCAR team. How about that? Is that good? Start doing some circle-y racing.
Sure. Okay, who you hiring for driver, or are you driving?
I want to drive. You look like you'd be good on top of a box. Joe, you could probably carry the gas can. Barkley, you look like you've handled a couple tires before. Ross, what do you?
I ain't good at much.
You could do the.
He'll wipe the windshield, man. Quick. Bang.
Water bottle handler guy.
There you go. Slicks. Shoot, shoot, shoot.
Well, not anymore. They got the one. Don't forget.
It's just one UGA.
Uh,
There's no more 5 UGAs.
Well, T, same question, because this is interesting how you guys are thinking about what you do with a big windfall like that. The dump truck money, no strings, build anything you want. What does T's Good Time Garage do?
So I've got a set of juggling, whatevers in my head on this one. So I love the idea of big money bracket racing. I do have $1 million, on my list. One of these days, I'm gonna do one. They run one in Vegas. So there's that. I'll either have to do that, or a small tire no prep car, or let's throw all the money down the drain and go super stock racing.
Hey, and hey, remember on that million, man, I usually don't run the million myself because it is a $2,000 entry fee, you know.
Right.
But man, I went last year as my first time going to Gateway strictly because it was at Gateway, which is 40 minutes from my house. And it is probably one of the best races I've ever been to, man. They had some of the things I remember. I mean, I didn't even bring any water or any snacks or any food. I mean, they fed me and water. I mean, everybody there. I'm talking 700 people. It was unbelievable. And I just ran the Tuesday 20 grander in the 350s. Ended up getting a little bit of chunk. Went 4 rounds one day. Got my entry fee back and bought a second entry. But I mean, don't be intimidated by the big entry fee, man. Save up that.
Right.
And I actually quit a little habit of the little whiskey bottles to pay for my entry fee this year. So 200 days of no drinking at $20 a day was $4,000, which basically put my car back together and paying for my whole weekend at the million. So
There you go.
Wow.
save early at the beginning of the year, man. Even if you do something like that, like $10 a day, 20, you'd be surprised how quick that adds up. And man, and get out there because it was a little intimidating, but I mean, to throw $1,000 down on 3 days of racing is pretty intimidating. I was worried about the buyback money too. That's what really had me. It's a lot there, but the car count's so high they didn't have buyback. So at the end of the day, I was like, "Sweet, I won first round, no buyback." It was awesome. So
Wasn't it like 2 years ago, a guy
my gosh.
breaking won the whole thing?
say that again.
Wasn't a guy like 2 years ago foot breaking 10 seconds?
That was last year. Donnie Hager last year.
Right?
Yeah, he did good. He was actually parked right next to us, and they came down from Michigan and just showed up just on the day of the million and foot braked his way right through the field.
Dust Devil asks when that
What
is.
was he
He's
driving?
5 minutes from Gateway.
10 seconds. Something. It was yellow. I can't remember what it was.
I thought it was a Vegas, right? It was a green car.
Dust Devil Garage. It just asked me about when is it at the million. The million parking starts on Sunday. Monday is your only time trial of the week. So you get one time run on Monday for the whole week, unless you're a new entry that shows up like on one of the 50s. And then there's a 20 grander on Tuesday, and then the 50 grander on Wednesday, and the 50 grander on Thursday, the millions Friday, and a 50 grander on Sunday. That's all next week.
Well, there
Somebody
you
was just
go.
asking in the feed. So
There's a summer fling going on right now at Bristol too, and
$2,000.
right.
Get sponsors to pay for it.
Andrew's asking about gassers. Well, here's the deal. Invite all your content creator gasser friends. And you know what? If you want to show up, and a bunch you want to show up, we'll do it. That sounds good to me. All right. I purposefully saved Joe last for the same question because Joe is notoriously fiscally conservative, which I greatly admire. You have the dump truck load of money. The boss doesn't get to tell you what you can do with it. And you can use it all on car stuff. It's earmarked for that. What do you do with it?
Factory appearing stock tire. Let's do it, man. Like
I love it.
I want like the sweetest Hemi Challenger I can get, and make that sucker bad, and get the motor home, get everything I want.
That's a good choice.
120 foot long trailer, basically, a Peterbilt pulling it. I'll make Tall John drive the Peterbilt for me, and
That's a good choice.
we'll be rolling. It's so cool, like it, and they have so many little nuances that make like, wow, this car looks totally stock. It's faster than my car that's sitting outside now that I can pour all the nitrous into I want. It somehow outruns it in the quarter mile. So.
Was that like a new
Amazing.
Challenger or something, or what are you talking about? You want a
Like
brand
70
new Challenger and a brand new Peterbilt. Elephant
I want a
Hemi?
70 Challenger.
Yeah.
A 70 Hemi Challenger.
You know what's funny is when Joe first said that, I thought only of a 70 or 71 Hemi Challenger. And it wasn't until Blake said that I said, oh, yeah, they make those too. Just didn't even register. But Andrew says factory appearance stock tire is very cool. Yes, it is. It's a crazy expensive class. But I love what those guys are able to do with that class. It's amazing.
We got the dump truck full of money, so it doesn't really matter.
Right. That's why I'm asking you, what would you do? What would you do with that blank check? Because I have seen a few people in my life who had the blank check for various reasons.
Can I
everybody will do something different.
put down buy my own drag strip while I'm at it to race at?
You could do anything you want with that question.
Hey, trust me, you don't want to own a drag strip. I've worked at one, man. They are money eating machines.
I think ours
So-
was for sale for 1.3 million a couple of years ago.
We haven't had a home track for the last 6 years since they shut down Salt Lake. So that's probably on my list too. As much as I agree with what you're saying, it'd be nice to have a home track again that wasn't 3 to 6 hours away.
Yeah, I'm blessed where I live at, man. I got Skelton's 90 miles. I live 16 miles from Bonne Terre, 40 minutes from Gateway, hour from I-57, a couple hours from Jackson. Within a 5-hour radius, I don't know, man, we could probably hit a dozen tracks, it seems like.
Wow. That's a good problem to have.
Yeah. Yeah, and Gateway is such a nice facility. It's just very expensive to race there. But I don't know, man. I've been racing at Skelton for 20 years now, and it's one of the smoothest tracks I've ever raced on. My car always hooks there better than anywhere else. Although Gateway, I got to say, Gateway's it's pretty good up there too. They do surprise me. And, you always hear the people tracks get beat up on, they suck, or the track's is no good. Like every track always has its issues one day or another. But for the most part, I think you guys will be very pleased when you get back to Skelton this year with the new management crew that's there, and the fact that it's very, very family oriented still, and family that runs the place. I think you're going to be very pleased. You're going to be very pleased with the track surface too, compared to last year.
Looking forward to some new best 60 foots, I think. So
I'm sure you'll get them. It's going to be nice. It's only supposed to be like a high of 70 here tomorrow. It's going to be nice tomorrow night. It's going to be real nice. So Ross, you better take out your back seat and your front seat and all junk out of your car. You can get that 6-second pass in. You did last year. He showed up with nothing left in the car but the driver's seat and the steering wheel.
I had a question for the 28-inch tire guys, and I think I like the question. I want to ask you guys, what is a bucket list track where you've never run that you'd like to? Because tracks have a lot of personality. They're all different. They all have different environments and ambiance and everything. What is that one track you've never run you'd like to?
I've been to a lot of places racing juniors, like all over the country, but I've been blessed to be able to race at Bandamere and Bristol and a place down in Florida. But I tell you what, I'd really like to make it out to Vegas, man. The strip looks super cool, and I'd like to make it out to the to Summit Motorsports Park. I heard that place is super nice too.
Is that Norwalk?
Yeah, Norwalk. I heard that place is really, really nice. And there's a place I drove by on my way to Bristol off of Highway 40 somewhere. I think it's called Knoxville or something. It's down in like a hole right off the highway. That place looks super fantastic too. It was like brand new when I drove by it. Crossville. Yep.
It's all concrete eighth, and you're looking straight down the track at exit 317.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Track. Yeah, I've never actually been there when they're open. And ironically, I've actually been down the strip at both Bristol and Vegas, but it wasn't to race. It was when they had the Christmas lights out.
What would you say your guys' favorite track is, man? I would have to say out of all of them, man, I've really Bowling Green's really been probably. I remember going to Bowling Green the first time, man, letting go of the trans brake button. It was really not ready for it at all. I was not ready. I remember the photographer come over and he was like, I didn't realize your car was going to wheelie like that, but it was Bowling Green's probably my favorite.
Norwalk
was
is Coach's favorite.
Pretty impressive.
I've got a BTP sticker on my oil pan right on the front. So if I get to pull my wheels this year, you'll be able to see it. Like,
all right.
Shameless.
Yep.
Or if I'm under there with the camera again.
Yep.
Let's hope not that way.
I think that track up in Alaska where you got the big mountain in the background.
Oh, yeah.
Really pretty looking.
Yeah.
How cool would that be?
That's how it was in Bandamere. It was pretty cool like that. You could see the whole city down below, then Morrison and the mountains in the background. It's pretty cool.
But that's only if we have the dump truck full of money. It's probably easier for T to get there than us.
Let's say you, T,
A little bit closer.
because you're out there in a different part of the country, a whole different area. And it looks interesting out where you are. It looks very different geographically. What would be a track, say, in the eastern half of the country you've never been to, you'd like to go to?
Well, it could pretty much be any of them at this point. You know, Sykeston's the only track that I've raced east of Utah. Well, Grand Junction. I've raced Grand Junction. But I've always liked the idea of Bristol. I think that scenery looks pretty awesome too. And then you just hear a lot about places like Norwalk that I'd love to have a crack at.
Norwalk's a good looking track. I really like the layout of it. I actually liked Old Bristol a lot. They tore Old Bristol down completely to build New Bristol on top of it, which is kind of a shame. The track had a lot of personality. The new track is great.
It's
I just hate
Bristol,
that losing
baby.
the old track.
But you know, honestly, I mean, when that dump truck shows up, you know, I'm getting the motor home, and I want to do nothing but small tracks. I just want to tour the country, just do a small track tour. You know, go to places like, you know, George Ray's or Sykeston, or I'm trying to remember this. There's a little 8th mile in southern Ohio that I would love to go down. But stuff like that, I think that would be the funnest thing ever. Just skip all the big tracks and go out in the middle of nowhere and hit all those.
There are a few tracks near where I am, not too far from here, that are 300 feet. There's
Never
one
done
in
that.
West Virginia on the Ohio border, and there's another in Kentucky, and they're 300-foot racing.
Huh. That's almost eighth is, you know, it was a struggle to get used to eighth for me, you know, since I did 20 years a quarter mile. I'd never been down an eighth. You know, maybe once in a while when it got windy or something, they'd back it down. And so I don't know, 330 or 300 feet might just not be enough.
That'd be kind of
It'd be fun though. Let's do it. Why not?
But that's wild to me because
Orlando
every quarter
Speed
mile
World.
starts with an eighth.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was always a quarter mile racer too for years at Gateway. That's all I ran. I ran pro and super pro quarter mile, and I get to think about that now after running when we run back to back down at Sykeston as quick as we run that program down there, like singing the hell out of that motors quarter mile back to back 15, 16 runs a night. Man, it was like holy cow.
Yeah.
Because my stuff, I mean, my big block, it turns some RPMs, but I'm telling you what, 7,400 in my car at the finish line at 136 is like gritting your teeth, holding on for dear life. That Cutlass was not meant to go that kind of speed.
Skating.
Bristol's the only quarter mile track around here. I mean, we're in the Appalachian Mountains. And to have that much track and shutdown is very uncommon. And, you know, even in Bristol, they literally had to move a mountain and curve the shutdown to get it. There are no places that straight around here to put a track in. So it's 8th mile virtually everywhere here. And like I said, there's a couple 300 foot, but 300 foot might allow you to some different opportunities that even 8th doesn't, because you don't reach such high terminal speeds.
Yeah.
I'd never even get into high gear.
Well, but if you built the car to run it.
530 gears, don't you?
Yeah. 513, 514.
Yeah, there you go.
Whatever it was.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I knew a guy that ran 650s in his Maverick.
Gross.
Sounded like a sewing machine.
You're watching it? You're not like talking into one?
Yes, I am.
No, he's in it.
Oh,
Here we go.
Bro.
we're with Barkley Smith here. Oh, we got a little video right there going.
Yeah, you owe him
You're in it.
$5 for touching him now. So please pay up.
We talking big tire, little tire, talking nitrous. What are we talking? Come on
Now
now.
you owe him $10.
All of it.
Quarter mile,
Did
8
you touch
mile.
him again?
We're talking a little bit of everything.
Hell yeah.
Little of everything. We got a great
Right.
game
Birthday
tonight.
party.
I actually have to leave the party from you guys to get in on this birthday party, man. I just want to thank all you
Sure
guys
thing.
for helping me out and helping me get to this thing. And man, I'm looking forward to hanging out with you guys.
We'll see you guys.
Yeah,
Having
good
some
to see
good
you.
racing. So
See you.
I'll see you guys soon.
Later.
Oh, yeah.
Join us.
Raise the money when Barkley comes to race.
We'll be there.
Take care, guys.
We'll see you.
Take care.
There you go.
Thanks for being on. So Joe, you've pulled a surprise on us the last 2 years in a row, and and I'll take the 5th on that.
Go
And you can
silly
take
like that.
You can take the 5th on it too, but now people are wondering, what is Joe going to? Is he going to pull a surprise on us, or is he going to be what's going to happen this year?
Man, in a perfect world, maybe I could win the bracket or something. I don't know, but I think it'd be cool if I could get second in 28-10-5. It's a win for me, like 100%. Because like the first year, I think Dodge Whisperer ran a 790 and he got second. And I knew I was a second faster than him, but I drew Redbeard the first round. So it totally hosed me. So, if I can do good in the bracket, like that's my thing. But if I could do both, I'm like, that's pretty great. I can't say I got a lot of changes. I am running slicks this year. I'm bringing 2 different pairs of slicks instead of my drag radials. I know he said the track's prepped, but it was my own fault for not like putting slicks on last year and trying, or and I showed up unprepared and all that, but it's on now. I mean, my bracket program is solid, so I guess it's 8-13. I can go ahead and are we doing call outs on here, John? Is that fair?
You can do anything you like. You can do anything.
I've called out on your live before, and there was turmoil from it. But
come on, Jed Scott, come on down.
So,
oh wait, you didn't.
I'm calling out T's Good Times Garage here. We got to have a bracket race, and I want it to be if you're good with it, if it's possible, let's do it before the actual bracket race. And like when they give us our time trials of the bracket race or whatever, and you've already had your passes, like we I need passes there too, but that way it's before the bracket and it gets us both in the bracket mode. And if I lose, it's totally fine because you're like a super
I don't
good
agree
dude.
with that. I don't agree with the before the bracket thing because that's just extra test and tune.
Well, it's not for you, Blake. I'm sorry.
After
it's
the
my
bracket,
call out,
you
Blake.
do your call outs, Joe. You can't be sneaking in extra TNT.
No. It could be a qualifying pass for the bracket. One of those is what I'm talking about.
It's still test and tune. It's still test and tune. It doesn't qualify who gets to get in the bracket.
You're slippery as snail snot, man.
Blake,
keep an eye on him, John.
I don't.
You know what, Joe? I'll do it. I'll do it.
Okay.
Let's do it. I like it before the bracket race. We can get some test hits
After
in
the bracket race, you guys can do your thing.
Not for you, Blake. Sorry.
I'll do whatever I want after the bracket's done when I'm holding the trophy and the cash. Is there cash? Just the trophy, whatever.
It's cash.
And then you guys can
I still
go
got my
play
trophy right here.
around.
Oh yeah. Let's
I'm
do
gonna
it.
come
Terry.
down like
Come on,
Ray
man.
Charles, not knowing I can't see nothing. Don't know what the car is gonna do. Just gifted. You'll see.
I think Blake and Ross would be a pretty good bracket matchup too, because you're running right about the same ET.
Mm-hmm.
That might not be bad.
I don't have the feeling of sticking the knife and turning it in Ross like I do with like T.
Well, I do appreciate the T-shirt last year, Blake.
I appreciate you kicking my ass in the semis. Man, I fall asleep at the worst times.
Right on,
John.
What else do you have in the way of call outs and who do you want to race there, bracket aside? So let's just say on Saturday, bracket's over. Who else would you like to run? Is there any one person you specifically want to run? It could be anyone.
Who are you going to, John?
Any of you. Start with Blake.
Who do I want to run against?
Yeah, is there anybody you want to run specifically?
If what? Do we got a semi truck full of money again?
No, just anybody who'll be at No Name Nationals in 2024. Is it specifically you'd like to race?
I guess it'd be fun to mix it up with Joe and T and Ross. I'm sorry, I just don't have any bad blood yet. Oh, I never got
Good
to be
time.
matched up against Joe in the 2 years. We've never even ran down the track side by side, ever,
Really?
ever. No, yeah,
Really? That never worked out.
no.
No.
Huh.
So, yeah, I guess like Joe or Jed Scott, some of the big hitters. Shit, throw Ryan Borsnest in there too. See what he can do on the track.
He'll be there, man.
There you go.
Who else? Oh. No, he's not going to be there. I was going to say Duddy, but no. Damn it. I don't know. I guess. I'd like to kick the hippies' ass a little bit. That'd be fun.
Mm-hmm.
That's always enjoyable.
Yeah. Will you bracket race him, or you want to race him heads up?
I'd bracket race him. I'd be fine with bracket racing.
That would be really good.
Oh, dude, you're in Missouri. It's legal there. He's going to have terrible reaction times. No, I'm joking. Right. He just looks like a hippie.
Joe, you get anybody you want at this thing. You want to make a call out. You can do it after everything. Who would it be?
Yeah,
there you go, NSB.
Me and NSB are locked. We're locked hard there. I don't know if we got to do 2 out of 3 or not, but Shane Polito and I got to do 2 out of 3 wide open. I'm gonna sling the rods like Big Block 402 if I have to. But yeah, it's got to go down for that. If we don't race in the 28-10-5 or earlier, whatever. But yep, there's Johnny Mopar T-shirt challenge right there.
Johnny Mopar in the chat. Johnny Mopar. All right, T. Anybody specific? Is it who do you want to run down this year? And let's just say even after the bracket, is there any call outs you want to make?
Well, and that, like Blake said, there's not any bad blood anywhere. I don't have anything like that's brewing. We got to do this. Maybe Bigfoot again, but he's leaving his car home.
Right.
It's not done. Some excuse about it not being done or something.
Yeah.
But we raced twice last year, so that's fine. But yeah, I mean, everybody kind of knows what my car runs, so I'll bracket race anybody.
There you go.
Jonathan Reed wants to see a Fast and Furious style race with 100 cars side by side on the Bountiful Salt Flats. So
Race Wars.
Race Wars.
There you go.
It's Race Wars.
Is there a drawbridge that we can jump?
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I'd watch. All right, Ross. Anybody specifically you want to race? I know you're normally racing the racetrack and minding your ET and your everything. But if you just get to call somebody out just because you want to line up with them, who would it be?
Well, the way the cars run this year, that's why I ain't called nobody out. Now, I did about 100 people that called me out when they seen how crappy it's been. So, no, I mean, there was one that I was wanting to call out, but he ain't going to be there. So, it was because he's got the same engine and stuff, just slower for some reason. I don't know what. But
I know who you're talking about.
I mean, I'll run anybody. Somebody wants to run with me all day. Bracket, heads up, whatever. I mean, the problem is there's so many cars I already know what they run. I'm not going to call anybody out for a heads up that I know run 780s or so. I ain't doing that.
I want to see what Big Mike's Charger is going to do. That thing looks froggy in the yard.
Mm-hmm.
I know Joe's
Big Mike,
fingers all over that too.
He's coming tomorrow night. We're going to test him to him at Centerville, so he's bringing it. Slicks on.
Get him hooked up, Joe.
Yeah. Get some drag shocks on the front.
That brings up something else good. So what do you think are the sleeper cars this year? The cars you think might exceed expectation? It could be anyone's. Because you guys have been watching what's going on in the community. Who do you think it would be?
Like I just said now, Big Mike.
Big Mike.
Probably, because I haven't really. This is the laziest year I've been on YouTube. I don't watch it anymore. Sorry, guys. Joe, I watch your stuff, buddy.
Thanks, man.
But then you tell me most of what's going to happen on the freaking phone anyway.
Yeah, you're on the phone. I'm like, yeah, I'm doing this, and then 3 days later, the video shows up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What
Joe
about
gives
that
me the
Levar?
heads up, and then called me for the airstrike.
Dust Devil Garage. Let's see that thing blast down the track this year.
Yes.
That could be something
Please.
that surprises people right there.
Yep.
And are we going to see a Barely Cuda full pass? That'd be kind of fun.
That would be cool too.
Ooh.
I'd like to see it
Oh.
blow the skinned out doors right off itself on the track.
So I was walking back behind the water box when Barely Cuda made its pass last year, and I could just hear it. And I'm like, I don't even need to walk up and see what went on there. So I'm hoping it makes a good pass, and we'll see what happens. What do you think, Joe? What do you think is the sleeper out there that is going to outrun people that nobody's talking about? What do you think?
I'm still betting on Levi's backyard performance there. I mean, he's got his parachute on because he knows that it's about to drop a bomb.
Really?
Okay.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah, that's something, you know. Tony's Hot Rod Garage also got all of his traction stuff together, so he's ready to pull the front wheels and get some little daylight. So that's going to be exciting. I saw he wanted to line up there. I saw that in the comments. So it should be fun. I'm there to race, man. You know, if my car has to die, I'd rather it be at No Name than at Newport the week before, because then I have to fix it and hustle to fix it.
I'll put this out there in the ether. Once the bracket's done, get to my pits within 15 minutes of that being done. And if you bring a 6-pack, I'll race you. I can't be drinking already. And it's got to be a bracket. It's got to be like, you know, no fruity beer either. It's got to be like, you know, Coors Original, Coors Light, stuff like that works.
Mm-hmm.
We're on a shoestring budget this year, Wilburn. I got a race for beer this year, I think.
All right. What do you think? We've got a lot of builds that are coming down to the wire. What's one you think is going to make it that maybe you think might have written off and you think it might make it? Because I've been watching a lot of these, and some of them I'm like, nah, they're not going to pull it off. And some I'm like, yeah, it looks like they really will. Like, for example, Redbeard he's looking like he's going to make it. He didn't look like he'd make it a month ago, and he looks like he might make it now. Who do you think might be somebody that you want to see make it, who's still got a good shot at just even get the car there?
Well, and I think when a Hemi shows up at your house, you know, that's a pretty good motivator.
Yeah, I'd say. And
I was not being there at the first one. I never got to meet him, so that would be pretty cool.
He's looking like he's going to pull it off.
I'm with Johnny Mopar in the chat.
I see that.
Everybody type 1 in the comment if you agree. Hit 1. Or press 1.
Those of you listening, Johnny Mopar says, good to be with all the comment.
Whatever, Joe. Get out of there.
One-Eyed Cat, NSB, Junkyard D. You got Tony. Can't wait to see all the NNM videos coming soon. Indeed.
Mm-hmm. I got to say, Big Mike, man, he rebuilds and then something happens, and he builds and something happens. It's like, dang. But he's checked every box. Like literally the whole car's been rebuilt at this point. So it's on.
Something I've said for a long time about the No Name Nationals in general is that the people who, the people who can do it in 9 months could probably do it in 9 weeks. And the people who can't do it in 9 months probably can't do it in 9 years. And that seems to be pretty consistent across the board. And all of you guys are people who've shown up, have your stuff together, turn out and all that stuff. So it sometimes is different to think about it from the perspective of some people who are like, well, I've never had a deadline to get a vehicle together and to something before. So what kind of advice would you give people who are doing that? Because all of you guys are, had deadlines, gotten it together. And what words of wisdom would you share for people? And not just for this year, but for every year. We got an orange paper to work to, and what would you tell them?
Stay focused and don't daydream all day. about what you want to do. Actually do it.
Yeah.
And
there's
you know,
a
like
lot.
myself, I need a list. You know, what do you want to have done? Put a list. Give yourself, you know, set goals for it.
Get a friend to help. The common, you know, having somebody in the shop with you helps immensely.
Yeah,
If
it
you're
does.
just a single dude wrenching on it. And there's times where Joe's had help come over and it, you know, makes the day a lot easier. But have somebody come over that you get along with.
Yeah.
Get that
What do you think?
motivation.
What do you think, Ross? What's the best way to make a time frame happen?
Yes, it's just like I said, you got to write it down and have this in your head. You got to get it done, and pretty much no matter what, I have this year. Every time something's went wrong, I've got it fixed and back. How many times? 5 times. The stupid transmission went out, and I don't know. I just got to just do it. I mean, procrastinating and stuff with everything ain't gonna help. So just do it.
Yeah. I mean, I can tell, like, I mean, I could probably count. There's at least 10 people that I know is like, yeah, I'm going to come hang out, show, you know, like, watch. We want to see y'all run. And I'm like, well, everybody, like, no pressure. I got to get my stuff going, or I'm going to bring a broken car again, like last year, where my transmission gave up on the second day. Like, no, first thing, the week after No Name, I had that transmission out and had a different one in because I couldn't even drive the car in and out of my shop. But I had to know what was the deal, what was wrong, what was.
That was part of the fun last year too. But like you say, if you don't have it in the shop that following week, and if it gets to week 2, by week 4, that thing could be sitting up on jack stands with dust accumulating to where it becomes month 4.
Yep.
Week 1 is week 1. Week 2 becomes week 45.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I get it.
So for somebody that would surprise the all living heck out of me to show up would be Heavens Mopars.
Oh.
That would be the surprise pick for me, I guess.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Fair enough.
And he says that his videos that he posts aren't real time. You don't know. You know, he might be showing up with a Duster or a Charger.
What do you think, Joe? Who can surprise you this year?
I do know, like, I've heard through the grapevine, Ryan Barr's Nest is bringing his A game. So
that would be awesome because that'd be the first year to make it with the car.
He's been saving it up for this one. So
here we go.
Yep.
Yep.
Man, that first year he had about 5 different cars he was going to bring, and that was his problem. He couldn't just pin it down to one and work on it.
I know. We've talked about it. He's got it honed in now. So
you know what? That's a good point. That's a good point. When people have too many choices, like Walmart will decide they only want to carry a certain amount of product on their shelf because when people have too many choices, they're less likely to make a decision and just walk away from the complexity. And so Blake brings up a good point. When you got 5 cars you might bring, you're far less likely to bring any of them. You have too many choices. What say you, T? Who do you think is maybe that dark horse to be there that might show up that you'd like to see?
You know, honestly, I was rooting for Heavens Mopar from day one, so I think that's the one I would love to see.
And Scott, if you're watching this in the future, if you're in the chat now, you got to find your own tent this year, buddy, because I'm using it.
Yeah, can I also say Ross right below me here? He's the only person that's got his No Name Nationals Mopar roll call video to me already. So Terry and Blake are on the list. So you know, but I can clearly say if you're registered for the No Name Nationals and you want to be in the Mopar roll call video, email me at justmoparjoe@gmail.com a video clip or anything, and we can communicate on getting that in there.
And then wait till the very end of the deadline before you send it. Like how Joe waits till No Name Nationals to show that he's got nitrous.
So Sean O'Brien asks a great question I hadn't thought of. What are you guys doing about spouses getting tired of us working on the car so much? Wife said I need to mothball the project car for a while after No Name Nationals.
It's a balancing act, definitely, Joe, right?
What are you talking about me for?
It's you win, you lose a lot of
I thought of you when I read it, Joe.
I'm going to my lovely wife is allowing me to test and tune tomorrow night. Blake,
my lovely wife keeps having me work on the weekends, but she is also allowing me to go to No Name National. She's staying home this year, and that's why I'm not bringing the RV. So she's going to keep the kids and the dogs. It'll be me and Jabo and Jeremy. And
Nick. Three best friends.
As an observer,
Jay's got a motel.
As an observer, it does seem like it seems like that the Joe's wife does strike a pretty good balance between letting him get his stuff done and not letting him sprawl, right? And so I think that's pretty cool, right? I think that's pretty neat.
Relationships are give and take, John.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
You know, I got a huge life outside of YouTube, so, and that's always going to be more important. You know what I mean?
Right on, as it should be.
For sure.
Definitely. Yep. I got one of the reasons is right next to me, not listening. I said, stay upstairs. See? Bye.
What say you, T?
I say the lovely Mrs. T has been so gracious to let me get things done and even let me go, to Grand Junction, which is 4.5 hours away, to get some seat time since I haven't had any since May. But yes, it is a give and take, and so I got that. Obviously, we're gonna do something for Mrs. T. We're gonna balance that out a little bit, and if you can't come to some happy medium, I don't know. I don't want to, say anything like there's bigger problems, but yeah, it's a give and take. It's a balancing act. You just gotta communicate.
Mm-hmm. And there's a lot more important things than bracket cars.
Without a doubt.
For sure. What say you, Ross?
Well, we don't have any problems in that area.
Good deal.
She goes and travels with me, and it helps that she too because she does a lot of videos of the car. But she enjoys it, so there's really don't have any issues with that stuff.
Do you have children? You're not empty nester or
empty? Both my kids. One's 29 and one's 25 with his own grandkids. Now I do have a sweet little grandbaby, so that's nice, but it's not. I don't have her. She's not here every day, so I see her once or twice a week, and that's about it.
I will say that just as somebody who knows nothing about being married, you guys that have good relationships do seem to have good programs with your cars too. So whatever correlation or causation is there, more power to you. I think that's great. It seems to work. You guys seem to have it going on.
Oh, trust me. Yeah. There's some nights I come home from HQ and I don't know if it's from being a little overserved or what, but there's some nights I come home a couple hours later than I say that it's going to be, but that's because the damn bolt broke, and you can't predict when a 20-minute job is going to turn into a 5-hour job. It's not, and I try to explain it to her the easiest way possible. I'm like, we're not making a meatloaf where how long it's going to take to cook, the ingredients and everything to put in it. And you could say, honey, supper will be ready in 2 hours. Okay, I think this job should be done in 2 hours, but no, it's not. It's 5 hours. And then supper's cold, and then I get the cold shoulder on top of it. But Some nights those bolts don't break, and then I get to be home at a decent time.
We're all just a little bit of rust, 10 pounds of torque away from a job getting 2 hours added to it.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
It can totally happen. And now Danny Boyd is hungry.
Yes, now I'm hungry too. He said mashed potatoes. Oh, comfort food.
We got a good crowd in here. Do any of you guys have any questions for these guys? Oh, we got them cornered here for just a few minutes, and then we'll let them get on with their weekend. I do want to remind people real quick that this we have this live stream, and then next Friday, which you should have the number 6 back here to tell you how close it's getting. We're going to have our live that gives everybody the daily schedule, all the administrative stuff. We're going to be talking about things like travel, when the gates open, close. We talk about Lamberts. We're not going to relitigate all the stuff of tech. You should absolutely know what you need to do to pass tech by now, because we've had numerous live streams, rule books, opportunities to ask Deacon, all that. But we will talk about when tech is open, the tech line, all of these questions, all these administrative things you need to do to make your trip to Sykeston a success. So we're going to do that next Friday's live, and that will be the last live stream for me before the No Name Nationals. So I just want to put that reminder out there. And then we'll be going back to something more of a regular program on my channel on Fridays. But do you guys have any questions for any of our panel who's graciously agreed to give up a good chunk of their Friday evening and weekend to be here with you guys? And Twisted Dennis says he may get in on the bracket action too, even though he just sold his Duster.
Oh, man, he sold his Duster?
He's got to spend that money somewhere. I think it was old man roll cage syndrome is what happened.
I've never seen a car with such nice carpet in it. That I was amazed at how nice that carpet was. Wow.
That is a very nice car.
Get yourself like a 12-second street strip car, Twisted, without a cage, and get back after it.
Yeah, Junkyard D had a question that was pretty good about I'm trying to find it.
There we go.
There's my help.
Yep.
Some of y'all remember Riley.
Still wondering how the cars are matched up for bracket and the staging lanes. Well, I can tell you for 28-10-5 heads up, we do chip draw for that. Okay.
Yeah.
Because that's a little different. That's a limited field, but we don't for the bracket.
That answers his next question to me. It said, I drew Redbeard. How did you draw him? So we pulled chips out of a hat, and we both had number 1 or 7 or whatever. So,
well, we drew chips twice.
Yeah. Niblack came in because he had to have his chip. I remember it.
And he didn't have a car ready to go, though.
Right, but he paid that money. So.
That was because our buy round was gracious enough to give it up. That's what I was remembering that happened the first year too.
Then NSB put a smackdown on me. I'm like, this is going to be an excellent race, man. Our cars are about dead even, and then he turned the bottle on and just dog walked me off the line.
This is a good one to give Ross first. Each of these questions I like popping for each of you guys, but there's always one of you that it seems like it hones in on. So for all of you, but I'll start with Ross. Street and race car. What do you guys think about the difference between having a purity of purpose between street and race or different kinds of race or whatever, and having that one car to try to do everything with? Just that question in general.
For me, it's like I'm always in a quandary with the cars, like we talked about before, because it's almost too much for street, and it's really not enough, with all I need to be good racing with it. So it kind of sucks in that way with this car, to where I kind of wish I had the money to have that car with the 340 back in it, full street, and then have me a race car, but funds don't allow that. So I just get by the best I can. I mean, it's a decent street car, but with the cam and converter in it, it's pretty rough around town and stuff. But and then on
what do you say for that, Joe?
I've had terrible, terrible problems trying to make that happen in the past. Like if your converter is tight enough to drive on the street and be happy, it is not the perfect race converter. I couldn't cut reaction times with that tight of a converter. It was killing me. Like my gears weren't enough. Nothing would work out right for me. It's really hard to do. I mean, for people who can do it, go for it. Maybe if you're trans braking and a trans brake doesn't care if you can just hold the button down and tell it 3,500 it launches. But I couldn't do it foot braking. That's why I didn't, like Blake said earlier, the modern cars. I had a Trans Am once, stock converter, stock gears, stock tires. It wouldn't spin, but man, I couldn't launch the car. And it felt terrible losing like 10 weeks in a row, not winning a single round. Like, I'm not racing this anymore. I hate this. Besides, it's not a Mopar, but, it just wouldn't work for me.
Now, Blake, you mentioned something about having the one ring to rule them all car, right?
Mhm.
Like an 8.5 second street strip. So what about you? Would you rather have your street car, your race car, or did you really say, you know what, I want to focus on that one car that does everything well, even if it's not the best at any one thing?
The most successful I have ever been was in a street strip car that I drove to the track, and that was that 79 Dodge Aspen, and that ran 1260s in the quarter.
Okay.
With 294 gears, and it had I think a 3200 stall converter. The stall was different on the street, obviously, but you get used to that. That car was awesome, and I could cut really good reaction times with it. Foot braking, and I just really enjoyed that car. I'd drive to the track and I'd put people on the trailer, and that's kind of what the Nacho Cuda is.
Yeah.
Except, ditch the 430 gears and put like 355s in it, and it'd be quite the good daily driver / strip car. Jeremy's kind of got that with the triple pickle right now. The guy daily drives that car, and then he can go to the track and run 1240s. How that's probably the perfect little street strip bracket car, because it's fun as hell in traffic from stoplight to stoplight. And then you can drive it to the track and go beat up on some Mustangs, put them on the trailer. If I'm driving Jeremy's car, I guess. But the triple pickle's like that sweet spot where you can drive it around or you can take it to the track. And now that he's got the front end suspension all redone in it, it's not a total death trap on the street. It handles good. If you got a sway bar that can be removable easily, that's something that I would like to see go into the Dart to help it on the street, because Jeremy's like 90% street driving, 10% track. I think if you're looking to get into it, find something that runs like mid-12s. That way you can go out and you can do your draggy on the street without really being worried about getting in super trouble. Or you can go to the track.
Unfinished Project mentions that the triple pickle, he's towed the boat with it too, and there's a short up. Unfinished Project, if you would put the link up to that short. I really enjoyed that. It's quite a sight. That had to be quite a sight at the boat ramp.
Yeah, that car hauls boats, groceries, ass, and children. So, it's Jeremy's perfect car. It just doesn't have air conditioning anymore or heat.
Jason, don't encourage him. Indirect connection. Jason says Jeremy should do a burnout this year with a boat. He's done one on the trailer more than once. I know that.
Well, who's got a boat down there because he's pulling the car down with the van?
Well, double.
Right on.
There's a couple trailer houses back behind the burnout pit. There's got to be an old John boat back there somewhere.
I wouldn't at all be surprised. Do any of you guys have anything that you want to ask anyone in the chat? Anything like that? Last call for any questions for these guys. Been a great, fun evening with all of y'all, and I've loved having panels of each of these classes. And it's a rare treat to get a lot of you guys on live. I don't have any of you guys on regularly, so this has been a lot of fun for me too.
Likewise.
Any of you guys have any last things, any closing remarks? Because this might be the last time some of you were live before D-Day.
If your name is Jay Matheson, don't forget drag radials at your house in Wisconsin. That right there is a good one, I think. Because like what we're talking about with bracket racing earlier, if you can get the damn car to hook, that's half the battle right there. Then you just get to figure out the rest of the shit. And if it sucks having a race like this on the gas pedal versus that. Nobody wants to roll the throttle.
You won't do it consistently for sure.
What about you, Joe? Any last closing remarks?
I'm reading Dean's comment down there.
Dean asks if Alcoholics Anonymous has a 12-step program for nitrous addiction therapy.
So Michael Yielding's filling my bottle today, and he texts me and he says he's taken his and mine, and he's like, man, there's a nitrous shortage in Arkansas. The Speed Shop and the Guatney Performance Innovations, that they're super low on nitrous. They hope they can get a bottle filled. And I was like,
damn dentist.
Fill mine first, man. Yeah, be sure I get a hit of that. So if you're a Mopar channel and you're registered for the No Name Nationals, please send me an email if you're interested in, does it sound like a commercial yet? No Name Nationals Mopar roll call.
And while you're on a computer having to type a bunch of stuff, go on Google and type in Etsy and search just Mopar Joe and find all the latest swag that Joe has to offer.
Such as this. From Schultz Company.
Junkyard D has sent the house $10 to apply toward a Good Time Tea bounty. I will say the house doesn't do bounties directly, but if anybody else organizes a bounty against Good Time Tea, the house will gladly put that toward it for them.
Yeah, T's the winner from last year. You got target on your head, buddy.
Hey, Ross. Any parting comments?
Oh, no. I mean, back to the racing thing for the call out and racing with that. I mean, I'll run anybody, whatever they want to run. I'd like to kind of see Thursday. I don't get to watch all these channels. I have no idea. I watch about 5 or 6 channels mostly. So I don't really know all of everything that's going to be there. So I would I'd just like to have a race with like the 2 cars that are pretty damn even. I just like a close race from the start to finish. That's my favorite. I love that. So if if there's enough, somebody want, cars in that category, it'll be awesome. But I just don't know of that right now. I mean, but
I'll be your Huckleberry.
Right then.
All right, and T, we'll give you the last word here.
All right.
What do you think? Any closing remarks?
Well, I do appreciate being involved in the No Name Nationals. I'm glad we got to go last year. Who knows how it worked out that it worked out the way that it did, but in my head it's a pretty cool story, and we're trying to write another one, so hopefully there's a part 2. But we'll be there in any case. We're going to have a great time, and I look forward to seeing all you guys.
Oh, yeah.
Right on.
Do you want me to bring that nitrous set up to you?
I'm very tempted. I'm very tempted.
I could use some money. Sell it to you cheap.
Okay, well, let's do we'll sidebar here at some point.
You know what? Y'all ought to get together on this because, you might want to get in on some action, heads up or grudge racing or some call outs or 28-10-5 on Saturday, T. So think about it.
Well, we could bring the funny looking tires again and see what happens.
And anybody, don't be afraid to bring spare parts in the back of your truck with a little bit of masking tape with a number on them. That's what we do when we come. Joe ended up with a valve body last year.
Oh, yeah.
Because we brought spare parts.
Yep. I've since sold it and made my money back. So
Nice. You didn't want that. It was a 4-screw plate. It wasn't the 6-screw one that Cope brags about.
Well, with that, guys, we're gonna wrap up for this evening. Thank you all so much for being on. I've enjoyed this panel tremendously. You guys are great, and
It's always a pleasure, Wilburn.
been a lot of fun. I'd like to have each of you guys, of course, back on at some point, during the season after No Name Nationals, and we'll talk about that later. But for tonight, guys, thanks for joining us. Have a great rest of your weekend. And for those of you coming out to Tech Talk Live, want to come hassle Shane in Dallas, that'll be Wednesday. I'll be back on next Friday for the last Friday before No Name Nationals, and we're going to talk about travel and logistics. And then it's D-Day, and I hope to see all of you there. So with that, y'all take care and thanks, and we're out.
Heathens,
Bye, everybody.
and Mopar